Welcome back to another FPL video. Today we're talking about the best wildcard team for Game Week 30. Just as a disclaimer, this video is recorded before the Wednesday games between Man United and Brentford and West Ham versus Newcastle. So the points and all of that aren't fully updated, and you can see my final score and how I did my future transfer plans in the team selection video coming up. And the plan is also to do a deadline stream, probably an early one. So on the Friday, it would be in the UK around 7 p.m. So be sure to tune in for that. And we can also go into some more details for UCL Fantasy over the weekend and into next week, where we're also planning to do a deadline stream for that as well. So if you're not enjoying this video, then be sure to drop it a like. Let's try to get this to over 300, and we're also looking to push on towards 20,000 subscribers. Let me know down in the comment section below which changes you would make to this wildcard squad. And without further ado, let's jump straight into this video. As we said in the last wildcard video, these are my two favourite goalkeepers at the moment, David Raya and Kepa Arrizabalaga. High ceilings, a lot of save points, and sometimes bonus along the way. And just look what Raya did in the first game of Double Game Week 29. Amazing stuff, conceding 3 goals to Brighton. Yeah, he still got 6 points overall because he was one of the best performers on the day, making plenty of saves and also getting bonus points in the process. Now, neither goalkeeper has a double in Game Week 34, which might put some of you off, but what I like is the rotation. So in Game Week 30, you can go for Kepa Arrizabalaga away to Wolves, whilst Brentford have Newcastle at home. In Game Week 31, Brentford will be away to Wolves, whilst Chelsea are at home to Brighton. So the rotation works extremely well. In Game Week 32, the blank game week, Chelsea won't have a fixture, but no worries. Brentford will have Aston Villa at home, which isn't easy by any stretch of the imagination, but still a decent fixture nonetheless. And Brentford have one of the best home records of any Premier League club all season. So whilst I like Jason Steele, Nick Pope and David De Gea, you've also got the likes of Alisson who have been fantastic this season. I would go for these two in David Raya and Kepa Arrizabalaga. We only have one defensive double up across the entire back line, including the goalkeepers, and that's for Newcastle. So Trippier and Botman do feature. You can go for Fabian Schär or another Newcastle defender like Dan Burn, but I just prefer Botman a little bit more in terms of bonus points and also in terms of his price and value. Now, Kurt Zouma does feature, and that's simply because he has a fixture in Game Week 32, a decent one, and also has a double in Game Week 34, but that does include Man City away, so it's not necessarily the best double game week you're ever going to see, and the fixtures overall are pretty decent. Now, West Ham have still been very poor defensively all season. They've kept 6, pretty much throughout the whole campaign, and I was expecting a clean sheet potentially against Southampton. Can they now keep some more clean sheets, build a foundation from that victory, and keep on winning games, getting those results, at least getting those clean sheets, so the likes of Zouma can offer extremely good value. Let's wait and see. I wanted to include Ben White, but I look at the fixtures for Arsenal facing the likes of Liverpool away, Newcastle and City away, alongside Brighton and Chelsea at home. I think there are too many difficult games there for Arsenal, who typically keep their clean sheets away from home, and at the Emirates, they haven't kept enough clean sheets all season in the Premier League. Only 3. So I've gone for Kurt Zouma as a result. Let me know if you would change things, but I'm very confident in the rest of my selections. So Luke Shaw is in here. He's got a double in Game Week 34, most likely another one in Game Week 37, and some great fixtures, including Game Weeks 30 and 31. But Man United need to get their act together because they have struggled in the Premier League recently. They haven't scored a single goal in the month of March and also against Newcastle in April. So they need to get their act together, build some results, and cement their place in the top 4. But Luke Shaw remains a good option, and I think he could do extremely well from now until the end of the season. It wouldn't surprise me if he ended up being the highest scoring defender in that period. And the same goes for Kieran Trippier, who got a massive 12-pointer there against Man United. He's a fantastic FPL option, and he has shown us what he did at the beginning of the season, because he had a bit of a rough patch with not many returns, only 1 from the previous 6 until Game Week 29, that is. Let's see how he does in the second game against West Ham. And then the final defender is Pervis Estupiñán, who is one of my favourite options. He's the highest scoring defender since Game Week 20. He's got more doubles along the way in Game Weeks 34, 36 and 37. And whilst the doubles won't be the best because there are some tough games that need to be arranged like Man City and Newcastle, I still think Estupiñán could do a really good job for you. And I would still rather go for him than Jason Steele in goal. The midfield will also be very similar, but we have made 1 or 2 key changes in here, including Salah in for Bruno Fernandes. Now, what I like about Bruno is the great fixtures in 30 and 31, the doubles in 34 and most likely 37. And with Salah, he was just benched against Chelsea, but I would fully expect him to start against Arsenal and also for every single Premier League game remaining from now until the end of the season. So I wouldn't be concerned about Salah whatsoever. The reason why I've gone for him over Bruno Fernandes is because going beyond Game Week 29, yes, Bruno Fernandes has better fixtures in 30 and 31, but he also blanks in Game Week 32. So if you are looking to navigate Game Week 32 without the free here, it makes perfect sense to go for Salah instead of Bruno. However, if you have the free in your back pocket, then it gives you more flexibility and you can target these fixtures coming up and go for Bruno Fernandes. So let me know down in the comment section below when you're planning to use your remaining free hit. And if you don't have it already, what are your plans to tackle blank Game Week 32, which will be the toughest test from now until the end of the campaign. Martinelli does feature simply because of value. He's shown incredible form over the last month or two. And you could say the same thing about Saka, Trossard, and all these other contenders for Player of the Month. And Martinelli has been absolutely electric. He deserved a nomination for that award, which was a bit surprising to see he wasn't there. But he's a fantastic option at that price. And Arsenal have some really tough fixtures, but I'd still recommend going for at least one player if you can. I think one or two Arsenal players is the sweet spot. I definitely wouldn't go for a triple up, but I also would try to fit one in and not go without any of these assets because despite the tough fixtures, Arsenal are top of the league and they can remain there for quite a while. And I think it'll go down to the wire, the Premier League title race with Man City, but Arsenal aren't going away as things stand, and Martinelli is really integral to that attack. We've also gone for Mitoma. He speaks for himself. I know he blanks in Game Week 32, but he's so cheap. He's benchable. Despite tough fixtures against Spurs and Chelsea in the upcoming game weeks, I think he could do really well in those two games. And he's been so consistent since Game Week 20 and also Game Week 17, since the World Cup, really. And it's a bit of a shame that I didn't end up putting the captain armband on him in Game Week 29. Let's see how Rashford does against Brentford in the second game. But so far, those that captain Mitoma are winning over most others in terms of the most popular captaincy options in double Game Week 29. Now, James Maddison has been extremely poor in recent weeks. Leicester aren't scoring enough goals, and Harvey Barnes delivered against Aston Villa, but it wasn't enough to prevent Leicester's 18th league defeat over the course of the campaign, which is absolutely shocking considering that Leicester have been right up there in recent seasons in the Premier League. They also won the FA Cup just 2 years ago. Things have definitely taken a turn for the worse. But Maddison, I still think, will come good, but he needs to stay fit, and Leicester need to start clicking very, very soon. But if not, if you've got the free in your back pocket, you could just go for that third Brighton player in Solly March or McAllister. Take your pick. I slightly prefer Solly March, but it's pretty much identical, and McAllister has that big caveat, that big advantage of the penalties over Solly March. So I think there's not really much to separate them anyway. It's all down to personal preference. And the final midfielder is Marcus Rashford, who has been disappointing in recent weeks, but he's still scored the most goals of any Premier League player since Game Week 17. And I think he's in a fantastic option with some good fixtures, plenty of doubles, and he's a great captaincy option in some of these game weeks coming up where you might want to go against Erling Haaland and go for something a bit different. But Rashford is a template pick. He's got around 50% ownership, and so far in Game Week 29, he hasn't done the goods. Let's see how he does against Brentford tonight, but I'm expecting some big things from Rashford in the future, even if he blanks once again in double Game Week 29. And here we have the front three. Ollie Watkins has been on absolute fire, delivering 17 points in double Game Week 29 and shown some real consistency since December and the appointment of Unai Emery. He's arguably the best FPL forward in that time frame, and I'd expect some more things from him, which normally I'd say no, he's such an FPL troll for me, but right now I believe he's got the quality, he's got the underlying numbers, the eye test, everything you can possibly say, and Aston Villa are a good team and they're pushing for a European spot. So I would go for Ollie Watkins, no doubt about it, and Ivan Toney is still one yellow card away from suspension. If he gets that yellow against Man United tonight, then he'll be suspended for Game Week 30, and it pretty much rules him out automatically from the running. Otherwise, he probably would feature in this team over Isak, but Isak doesn't have any of those problems, and despite blanking against Man United, I still have some really big hopes for Isak in the future, and he's been fantastic considering the limited game time this season, and Newcastle have some good fixtures coming up, so I would still go for Isak, and he has that fixture in blank Game Week 32 for those of you without the free hit. And the final forward is Erling Haaland, but you could make a case for the likes of Harry Kane, who's been so consistent all season. Erling Haaland's already back in training, but there is still a chance that his minutes will be managed against Southampton because the big game for Man City will be Bayern Munich in the Champions League, which we'll try to cover as well on this channel with UCL fantasy content. I expect Haaland to start against Southampton in Game Week 30, have his minutes maybe managed a little bit, so he'll be subbed off around 70, 80 minutes. That will be my guess at this moment in time, and then he'll start to get that match rhythm, sharpness up, and he'll be fully ready for the Champions League and also for the remainder of the Premier League season. But there will be the odd occasion possibly where Man City might even go for another option like Alvarez in the forward line, or even a false nine, especially if the league seems unattainable at some stage, which I don't expect to be the case. And I think Erling Haaland will start every single game from now until the end of the season, with the only doubt being in Game Week 30. This time we're going to go for a 3-5-2 formation, and I'm a bit uncomfortable with some of the players we're benching, but it is what it is. You're going to have some bench points here with this wildcard squad, and I think some of you might argue, well, when I'm wildcarding, I actually want to take money out of my bench and put it into the starting 11, and that might even give you the possibility of going for Harry Kane up front or going for Bruno Fernandes as well, alongside the likes of Mohamed Salah in the midfield. But I've gone for Kepa Arrizabalaga in goal, a back three of Luke Shaw, Trippier and Zuma, but it's quite close actually between all three of those defenders, Zuma, Estupiñán and Botman. I have given Zuma the edge, and Fulham have been on a downward trajectory. Mitrovic is banned for 8 games. Their manager also has a 2-game touchline ban, and they haven't been getting results in all competitions for quite some time now. I'm still very pessimistic and very concerned about West Ham's defence, but Zuma would be a decent option to start in Game Week 30. And the midfield 5 speaks for itself. Salah, Rashford, Martinelli, Maddison and Mitoma. And despite Martinelli having the toughest fixture of the lot, I still think he could do really well against Trent Alexander-Arnold or whoever plays on that right-hand side for Liverpool, but I would expect that to be Trent once again. And the front two would be Ollie Watkins and Erling Haaland. In terms of the captaincy, I'd probably give Haaland the edge if we get some more inklings that he's going to start against Southampton, but it's a bit more of a risky pick going for Haaland, and if you go against him, that's also risky. We all know what he can do. But if you want to go a bit different, you could go for Marcus Rashford. You can go for someone else as well, like Salah or Bruno Fernandes as well, even if you end up having him in your squad. I think Isak on the bench would be the one I'm most concerned about. Brentford versus Newcastle, I think both teams will score, but that's quite a tough game to call, and I could even see a draw in that match. But whether it's going to be low scoring and favouring your defenders or your attackers remains to be seen, of course, and maybe the Wednesday matches will give us more of an inkling and an understanding of how the matchup in Game Week 30 will pan out as well. I think the goalkeeper choice as well is quite straightforward in terms of the fixture. You would favour Kepa Arrizabalaga, but even Raya, I wouldn't be surprised if he got a big haul against Newcastle United in Game Week 30. So that is it. That is the wildcard squad for Game Week 30. Let me know if you disagree. And I have to say, in terms of the ones I'm least confident about, I think Zuma would be right up there in terms of the list. Probably James Maddison as well, despite some good fixtures and his FPL pedigree. He's been very poor in recent weeks, and Leicester, things just aren't really going well for them. And I just don't see them getting out of the situation unless they get that managerial appointment correct and also done very soon. And there are some 50-50 decisions in other areas, such as Haaland versus Harry Kane, Salah versus Bruno Fernandes. So if you are on the other end of the spectrum, whatever you believe, let me know down in the comment section below and who you would captain in Game Week 30. But thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. Let's try to get this video to over 300 likes. Let's keep on pushing towards 20,000 subscribers and beyond. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the links in the description below for the Patreon, channel memberships, Discord server, and the FPL League. All of that stuff is there. I wish you all the best of luck for Game Week 30 and the rest of the season, and I'll see you next time.